This video is all about the order of operations that you must follow when you solve math problems. So in this video, we're just going to review the order of operations and then view some examples. Let's get started by solving this problem. All right, so it's the same problem 2 times. On this side here, we're going to do 4 minus 2, which gives me 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 times 4 gives me 8. We're going to do that same problem over here, but first things first, I'm going to do 2 times 4, which is 8. Then I've got 4 minus 8, and 4 minus 8 is negative 4. Wait a second, we just did the same problem, same exact problem, and got 2 different answers. Which one is the correct way to solve this? And if you are familiar with the order of operations, you know that this problem here was done incorrectly because the order of operations says that we do multiplication before we do addition or subtraction. So we would need to multiply 2 by 4 to get 8, and then 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So this way is wrong, and this way is correct, following that order of operations. So make sure that you remember this. You've got to just memorize it. It's parentheses, exponents. After you solve all the parentheses, then you solve any part of the problem with exponents. After that, you're going to multiply and divide. And this is actually in the same step. So you're going to multiply or divide from left to right. And you're going to add or subtract. That's your last step, and you do that from left to right. If you need a shortcut, or a way, not a shortcut, but a way to remember the order of operations, it's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. The only thing that's confusing when you remember this that way is you have to remember you multiply and divide from left to right in the same step. You add and subtract from left to right. You don't necessarily do all the adding and then the subtracting. You do those from left to right, and you'll see some examples of that. So here are some examples. We have here this problem 8 times the quantity 7 plus 3. If I remember my order of operations, parentheses, exponents, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And I'm going to kind of go like this with an arrow by those so you remember from left to right. So parentheses goes first, so 7 plus 3 is 10. We're done with the parentheses, so it's 8 times 10, which is 80. Now for number 2, wow, there's a lot of parentheses here. I can see that this parentheses here is just a negative 5. I don't have to do anything in there. This one's just a negative 2. I don't have to do anything in there. But in this set of parentheses, right here, I have to do something. I have negative 2 minus negative 3. If I remember, minus a negative is really plus a positive. And so negative 2 plus 3 is equal to positive 1. I'm just going to bring everything else down. Negative 5, I don't need that in the parentheses anymore, times 3 minus a negative 2 minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So I'm going to make that a little more simple. And then this is a plus, so a plus positive 1. Now, order of operations tells me exponents. There's no exponents. Then it tells me I multiply or divide from left to right. So here's my multiplication. So negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. There's no division, no more multiplication, so I'm going to bring everything else down. And now I just add from left to right. Negative 15 plus 2 gives me negative 13 plus 1. Negative 13 plus 1 gives me negative 12. Number 3. I've got parentheses. So in parentheses, I've got to do this 8 minus 3 to the second power. In the parentheses, I've got to do, before subtraction, I've got to do exponents. 3 to the second power is 9. So I have 8 minus 9 in parentheses. Because 3 to the second power is 3 times 3. So now I've got to actually compute what's in parentheses. 8 minus 9 is negative 1. So I have negative 3 times negative 1, which is positive 3. Now going on to this last problem, we have 10 over 3 minus the product of negative 2 times 3. This fraction bar is kind of a grouping symbol because it's telling you you've got to do all of this on the bottom first. And so we've got to actually simplify that first. So we've got 3 minus negative 2 times 3. So in parentheses, here, the small parentheses, we have negative 6. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So now we have 3 minus negative 6, which is minus a negative becomes plus a positive. 3 plus 6 is 9. So the bottom of this is worth 9, and the top is worth 10. That can't be reduced. We don't have to turn it into a mixed number. We can just leave it as 10 over 9. There was one more problem I said that we would get to, and that is when you have to multiply and divide. And remember, when I write out PEMDAS, I keep the M and D by each other, and I do this over the MD and AS, so I remember I do that from left to right. So in this problem number 5, we have 18 divided by 6 times 2. Even though multiplication comes first in PEMDAS, it is written second here in this problem, so we are not going to do that first. We're going to go from left to right. So we're going to do 18 divided by 6 and get 3. And then we've got 3 times 2, which is 6. So the answer to this is 6. You do not do multiplication first if multiplication and division are the only things left in your problem. You've got to go from left to right. So if you remember these steps, parentheses, then exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, you are going to do great in solving problems involving order of operations.